Hey, and welcome to the first short lecture from Chapter 9 in your textbook. So today I want to begin talking with you about some of the reasons that we form relationships. So the question there, right, that arises is what attracts us to other people? Why are we attracted to some people and not others? Romantically, friendship-wise, etc. Right? So your book gives us a pretty comprehensive list, and we'll talk about each one of these factors as we go along. And the first of which, as you see on this list, is appearance. Right? So as rational human beings, we like to think that we judge people on character. But the truth is that we actually judge people often on their looks, right? Particularly when it comes to figuring out who we want as a romantic partner. So there's a relatively well-known study that's commonly referred to as the party study, where they took over 700 men and women and put them together in a party setting and asked them to just sort of make small talk with one another. And afterwards they asked the participants, would you want to date that person? Would you want to see that person again? And the results found that the more physically attractive the person that they were paired with, right, the more likely someone was to say yes. And they found that their willingness to see the person again had virtually nothing to do with the other person's social skills or their intelligence, right? So the decision about whether or not you'd want to date someone or see them again in this circumstance was based almost entirely on looks, and it had nothing to do with whether or not they seemed like a good person, whether or not they seemed intelligent, whether or not they seemed like a good conversationalist. Again, it was all about how they looked. Right? So some interesting things about looks. We know, for example, that people's online photos are found to be more attractive if you surround yourself or if they're surrounded with attractive people, right? Other attractive people. So if you're already good looking, you might think, oh, well, I should surround myself with a bunch of ugly people so that I really stand out. That's not true, right? That's not true at all, because attractive people are rated less attractive if they're surrounded in photos by unattractive or average-looking people. What you want to do is, if you're already good-looking, is get a lot of good-looking friends and post all those on Instagram and so on, so that when people look at your photos, they'll rank you as even more attractive than normally, right? Some interesting and kind of scary things that we've learned about appearance and attraction. According to research, we're attracted to people who resemble our opposite sex parents or ourselves. I'll say that again. So according to research, we're attracted to people who resemble our opposite sex parent or ourselves. So if you're a man, then chances are you're attracted to women who look like your mother or who look like you. Girls, you're attracted to men who look like your father or who look like you. I am convinced that we are all narcissists, that we're all in love with ourselves. And we don't want to admit it, of course, but this sort of bears that out, right? I mean, we all know couples who look just like one another. I mean, these two could be twins, right? But no doubt their physical attraction to one another is based in large part over the fact that they look like one another. I don't know who these people are. They're famous, right? But I don't know who they are. But I do know that this is Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen, right? The quarterback and the supermodel. And if you split their faces right down the middle, you'll see that you slap a wig and a little makeup on Tom Brady, and he looks exactly like his wife, right? Which is kind of scary, because we really are attracted to people who look like ourselves or who look like our opposite sex parent. So there is some sort of genetic imperative, right, or some sort of imperative there that makes you attracted to people who look like you. And one of the sick things that we found out is that marriages between third and fourth cousins are the marriages that produce the most children out of any marriages anywhere, anytime, across the board, right? So if you're married to your third cousin, like you are really probably attracted to them and want to make a lot of babies, which is kind of frightening in some ways, but interesting to know, right? Now, one of the things that's interesting about attraction is that over time, ordinary people, ordinary looking people with kind and pleasant personalities are rated as attractive. So over time, if we get to know someone, but we don't initially think they're really attractive, but they have a great personality, over time, we will find them more and more attractive. We also know that physical factors become less important as relationships progress, right? So as you go through your relationship, right, after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, physical appearance, physical factors don't matter as much as they do when you first meet. And this could be related to this final bullet point here, which is that as romantic relationships go on, partners tend to create what we call positive illusions about one another's physical appearance. So what that means is that they view one another as more attractive over time. Now, I got news for you, right? None of us are getting better looking over time. That's why they call this positive illusions, right? That's why they call these positive illusions. So the idea is that we sort of intentionally mislead ourselves to think, oh, she just gets more beautiful over time. No, she doesn't. Nobody does. But it's nice that our brains are wired that way so that maybe we think so. So the last factor that I want to talk about today, and one that I also find interesting and related to this idea that we're all narcissists, right, is the idea that similarity breeds attraction. We like people who are similar to us. And we know, for example, that with married couples, the more similar their personalities, the happier they are with one another, right? So this flies in the face of that old adage that says that opposites attract. Opposites don't really attract usually. Indeed, maybe because we've all heard that so many times, maybe that's the reason half of all relationships end in divorce, is because people believe that they do. When in reality, over time, the more you like one another, the more likely you are to be happy with one another. So similarity, of course, is really important in initial attraction. And we know, for example, in something as abstract as Facebook, right, we're more likely to accept a Facebook friend request from a stranger who seems similar to us, right? So if they're the same race, gender, religion, right, whatever you could tell from your first impression of them, when they're more similar to us in those respects, we're more likely to accept their friend request. Now, what's important to point out here, what's important to point out here, oh man, I really messed this up, I'm sorry. Okay, so my apologies. So what's important to point out here is that it's really perception that's important when it comes to judging similarity. So we just need to believe that the other person is similar to us. They don't actually have to be similar, right? It's about our perception of them. And so as a result, what we say is that it's perceived similarities that often create attraction, right? So it's not actual similarities, rather it's perceived similarities. Okay, so that's all I'm going to cover in this short lecture, and we'll pick up with some other points about similarity in the next one. Thanks for checking this out.